morning. So here I am at Hollywood Cemetery. I'm actually right at the entrance, which is behind me now. As you come in, the office is on your left. And if you go down behind that building, which I'm going to show you now, you go down behind the building where you see the overhang and the stone pillar, that's where the public restrooms are. And then the road that we're going to be going down into the cemetery is right there. There are maps online. There's also a stone map here. There's lots of winding roads all through the cemetery, so as far as accessibility, well, it's kind of it all depends. Most of the places are easily to drive to. However, some of them, once you get off the beaten track, with a couple of exceptions, it's just regular, very hilly turf, just like you'd see in a cemetery anyway. One of the sights to see is the Iron Dog. The Iron Dog sits next to the grave site of a girl who was buried, I think, in 1863. There's lots of stories about how that dog got here. Apparently it was in front of a store downtown, and it was brought up here to prevent it from being used or melted down for bullets during the Civil War. And the child's grave, which I'm walking over to now, is a place where people put mementos, good luck pieces, coins, toys, rocks, all sorts of things. Right now there's a penny in there and some rocks and colored glass. When I was here a few days ago, there was candy on the dog's nose. This type of grave with sort of a cradle-like thing is typical for children's graves back 100 and some years ago, 150 years ago. You can see that there's toys and rocks in there. This is the beginning of what's called the Confederate section. I'm going to walk across the street here. Parking is problematic. The roads are narrow, but you can park on them and walk anywhere into the cemetery. Just don't block traffic. So make sure you're in a spot that's wide enough that people can go by. Off in the distance, you can see the Confederate Memorial. There's over 11,000, perhaps as high as 18,000 Southern troops that were buried here in the cemetery. So I'm not sure, this was all May 1862, and there were several battles out in Vicksburg, which is a long ways away. Williamsburg had a battle in May 1862, but they often shipped the bodies back from wherever. We'll go to a Gettysburg section in a little while, and then bury them here. These are all new headstones. The older headstones typically look like this little stone right here, and might only have a number on it if they didn't know whose body it was. Right now I'm standing close to the Confederate Memorial. It is about 90 feet tall. Built completely from the stones from the James River. There is no mortar in it, no cement or concrete. It's all rocks fitted to go up that 90 feet. When I was here a few years ago, all of these graves had the Confederate stars and bars on them. The Hollywood Cemetery decided to do away with or not allow Confederate flags anymore. The cemetery was not built for the Civil War. It was actually built about 15 years before the Civil War. It started 1845, 42, thereabouts. I'll put the real date in down low. And it was named because it had lots of woods or forests of holly trees, and the Hollywood became its name. And we're going to go from here to President's Circle, where President Tyler and President Monroe are buried. President's Circle is a bit out of the way and difficult to find, so it's really critical that you take a road map from specifically for the cemetery. It's up on a hill overlooking the James and not too far away from Jefferson Davis Memorial, but it's not on a direct path to anything, and there's of course no directional road signs about where to go and all that. But there's a small parking area close to most of the President's Circle area. But again, take a map, because it's difficult to find. At least it was for me. Although you can't park right next to where the memorials are, all the walkways are stone. So it's a relatively accessible place. Right now they're working on mowing the area, so I won't be able to spend too much time. I'll probably have to put some remarks in the section. Monroe's grave is that cage-looking thing over there, and it's actually called the bird cage. This is, I think, one of only 2 cemeteries that have 2 presidents buried in them. The other one's Arlington. Virginia has the most presidents buried, I think 7. This is the bird cage. Monroe was a founding father. I think he was the 4th president. His wife is buried here too. That's Tyler's memorial. He was actually here in Richmond on a business trip when he died. He wanted to be buried on his plantation, but he died here. And Jeff Davis wanted to make a big deal out of it, since Jefferson wanted to bury another president here. And so they gave him a magnificent funeral, covered his casket with a Confederate flag. And that's not what Tyler wanted. He wanted to be buried on his plantation, but he was dead, so he didn't get a vote. Just outside the President's Circle, overlooking the bridges of Richmond. And you can see some of the rapids of the James River. I'll pan over this way. An interesting side note, I read about the markers here in Hollywood. The obelisks are a symbol that the person buried there is a Protestant, because they didn't want to have themselves connected with the Catholic Church for some reason, not really sure why. So they wouldn't have a cross like that one. They would have an obelisk like these. This is where Jefferson Davis is buried, and his wife, as well as other notables from the Civil War era, as well as other people well known in Virginia. It sits overlooking the James River. It's very peaceful up here. Lots of folks visit, I guess. This is the overlook of Richmond as well as the James River. And you can see all the bridges that go across the river. And right below us are two railroad tracks. Richmond used to be, and sort of still is, a major rail area. Railroad tracks everywhere. The cemetery is still active. People are still buried here. There's funerals almost every day when I come out here. This is a quiet place. It's in the shade. It's hot and humid here this time of the year for the next 3 months. And there's shade here, and then there's a river in the background. The sound you hear is the James River. It's kind of cool. It's almost like there's air conditioning in here, but I think it's a Venturi effect of the winds going in between the two doors.